The Florida Legislature has been in session for the last, I don't know, for the last couple of weeks, and they're going to be finishing up on March the 7th. And we might have brought up before that they've got about about 13 bills that they have been considering that relate to home insurance. And from what we've been told and what we've been told by people, some of the, there's a lobby group up there that represents the home insurance companies. We've got people from Pro that have been going up there. From what we're hearing from them, it doesn't look like anything is going to get passed related to home insurance or condo insurance. There's a couple of issues with that, I guess, or considerations. One is it's an election year, and sometimes a lot of people are saying that could be one of the reasons why there's not anything that's going to be passed. No one wants to make any major changes. The other thing would be the fact that there's still a chance, and we see this in politics, I guess, all the time, where someone will try to tag something along to a bill. So maybe a bill that has nothing to do with home insurance gets passed, and they'll just kind of throw a little tag onto it at the last minute, maybe related to condo insurance or home insurance. There's still a chance that's going to happen, but they finish up on March the 7th, and we'll just have to see where we end up as far as March the 7th goes. March the 8th, we should have some reports coming out from some of the insurance agencies and talk groups and things like that.
So what's happening on March 7th?
The legislative session ends. So
okay,
that would be
okay. So they're not meeting then. That's just when it ends.
No, they've been meeting for a couple of weeks. There have been a bunch of bills that have been introduced. They've been debating, not just around home insurance, but just bills in general. So this is their legislative session. I guess it's a 3-week time period, maybe 4 weeks. But March the 7th, my understanding is when it ends. And so at that point, if there hasn't been anything passed related to this, then there's not going to be. So we would probably be looking at going the rest of the year without any major changes. So what that would mean, say that again?
Is that good or bad in your opinion?
It depends on which bill gets added. I mean, the ones that we thought could potentially happen would be more related to citizens having having a higher coverage limit. Like right now, if you have a house that has a replacement cost at $700,000 or above, they're not going to be an option unless you're in Miami-Dade County. So the rest of the state, they cap at $700,000 with citizens. So there was a bill to increase that to $1 million. There was another bill to increase that to 1.5. If that's positive, that could have been a positive. I think the biggest thing for us was related to condo insurance and the condo reform. The couple things I think that we would be looking for would be related to, was there going to be some sort of extension given to these milestone reports that are going to be due, because they're all coming due at the end of the year. Now, the one thing that's kind of tricky about that is, from what we've been told, you can actually, as long as you have it scheduled by the end of this year, then you're fine. And then it can be done next January, February, March, but you have to have it scheduled by the end of the year.
And that's buildings that are 3-story and higher, correct? 3-story and up, not 4-story
and
up.
30 miles. Yes. So just remember the number 3, 30 miles from the coast and 3 stories or higher throughout the state. When they first did the bill, was first introduced, they tagged on how close it was to it had to, if it was a certain distance from the coast, I think 3 miles from the coast. Now they did away with that. And so every condo association statewide, if it's 30 years of age, 30 years of age or older and 3 stories or higher. But at the same time, there are associations, if they choose to, they can have a milestone report done, even if they're 26 years old, 27, 28. And so we're anticipating some of the coastal associations may be doing that just to be on the safe side, especially down in South Florida. They could just choose to do it regardless. So
I heard you say 3 stories and higher and 30 years and older. So is it and? They have to be
those 2.
3 stories and 30 years old, 30 years older.
Absolutely.
If they're less than 30 years old, then the building inspection is not required.
The milestone report is not required, but like I said, there are some counties that may choose to go ahead and require all of their condos to get done. We've seen some of that already. My understanding is we've seen some of that already down in Miami-Dade, where you can understand that's where the condo fell, and so they're going to be a little bit tighter down there. So, but yeah, so we were hoping that maybe there'd be some sort of extension given. They didn't, for whatever reason. They think they can all get scheduled by the end of the year and be done by early next year. And then the other thing was just related to, was there going to be some sort of carve out? And I don't know what this would actually even look like, but some sort of carve out for the 55 and older community. Because as we've talked about, I think last time a little bit, that's who's going to get hit the most by this, I feel like. Because you've got a lot of associations out there that, especially in the older community, they don't, unfortunately, a lot of them don't keep much reserves. And so, if you have a $20 million bill comes due, which we've already had one down in the St. Pete area, a multi-million-dollar milestone report or repair cost, who's going to pay for that? And so that's where those assessments get assessed to the people that own them, and a lot of them are not going to be able to afford that. So
I talked to my neighbor. It's a great point you bring up. I talked to my neighbor. His grandfather owns a condo on Clearwater Beach, and they just assessed each unit owner $70,000. And I talked to somebody else. They assessed each unit owner $200,000. Yeah. I think some of them they're spreading out over 10 years. Sometimes it's over 5 years. Sometimes it's over 3 years.
So what are they going to do, right?
Yeah, if the building, yeah, correct. If the building is within a certain mile of the coast, does the building does 25 years kick in if it's closer to the coast? I thought I heard that somewhere. 3 stories and higher and 25 and 25 years or older if they're closer to the coast. Is that not the case?
No, that's not my understanding. Yeah, the whole issue of how close you are to the coast was an initial issue with the initial bill, but when they came and they had that fix, a while after, when they realized, oh my gosh, we did this whole thing within a week. We introduced it, had 80 something amendments, and voted on it all within 1 week. It was going to have issues. And so they corrected a lot of those issues. And one thing they decided to do was distance to the coast was not going to be a factor. It's 30 years and 3 stories or higher. And the 3 stories or higher does include, let me make one clarification of that. From what we understand, it's garage as well. So if you've got a garage on the bottom, and it's 2 stories above that, you're still required. The other thing is, if you're in a condo association where every building is 2 stories, except for this one section over here that's 3 stories, the whole association, all the buildings get checked. It's not just the 3-story building and that association, it's all of them will get checked. So it's kind of an all or nothing thing. If you've got one building that's 3 stories or higher and others that are not, they're all going to get checked as part of the milestone report.
Thank you for bringing that up. So we've actually ran into issues with condo projects recently where, so the master insurance policies on a lot of these, on most, the premiums are going up significantly. So I had one where actually it was one of Brittany's clients. We were looking at the budget. So the master insurance policy last year from 2022 to 2023 was $170,000. From 2023 to 2024, $420,000. It went up by over 100%, like 150%. And then that carrier so the master insurance agent placed it with, I don't know, whatever company, not Citizens, a different company. That company ended up dropping that policy, canceling that policy because of, I think it's kind of like, when we get a homeowner's insurance and I close in my house, they'll send out an inspector after the fact to take a look at it and make sure that there's no repairs. So on this one, they canceled the policy. The project had to rewrite it through Citizens. And now come to find out, Citizens master insurance policy does not cover water claims or water damage. Mm-hmm. So that's an issue for the agencies, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, FHA, if they don't cover water claims, where the other master insurance companies, they do cover the water claims. Had another one come up where, from last year to this year, they changed the hurricane deductible, went from 5% to 7.5%. That's an issue if the hurricane deductible is over 5%. Had another one where they added in a clause, 100% replacement cost, except for on the roofs. There's cash value on the roofs. if they're older than 10 years. Well, some of the roofs in the community are older than 10 years. It's an issue for Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac. Another one, they had co-insurance on it. And the co-insurance they had, the amount that they had covering on the master policy was enough to cover the insurance appraisal that was done by the association several years ago. So that's what the master insurance policy agent had on there. However, the association had a new insurance appraisal that was done in January of last year, and they never gave that to the master insurance agent. So now they don't have enough coverage. They're short by $1.4 million to rebuild it. Another issue with like Fannie Freddie, this is becoming like, a bigger deal.
Yeah, it's going to have a lot of impact. And that first example you brought up, I actually just, I don't know if that's the example. I was talking to Sean Moore with Van Dyke yesterday. Him and a client were having that exact issue where they were trying to, and I basically turned it into our commercial division. And I haven't checked my email yet this morning to see what the response was. But basically, it looked like to me they had a initial citizens policy, but it was on a basic form, which means it's not going to have water damage coverage. But then they had a secondary add-on policy with it that the way it looked like to me, that was a special form, which means that it would cover those things, but it didn't have wind coverage on it. So it looked like to me they were stacking, that association was stacking coverages or stacking two policies together to make sure that both of those were covered. I need to check my email this morning to see what our response was from our commercial agent, but I turned that in yesterday for Sean because him and a realtor were having an issue with that.
That's a great point you brought up. So on Brittany Bennett, on her client, in that community, it was the project is on Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac's approval list. Okay. However, we still have to get the updated insurance. Well, this insurance, I think, just renewed, I don't know, like December of 2023. Well, the realtor's saying, well, other lenders have got files closed in this association way. They closed them. I was like, well, it was either on a portfolio loan, or I said, was it before December 23rd of 2023? So a couple months ago. She goes, yes, it was. I go, the insurance policy renewed, master insurance policy renewed. So even if it's on Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac's approval list, Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, which are government-sponsored entities, conventional loans, they still make the lender collect the master insurance. So on Brittany's, they had the basic coverage through Citizens, and they didn't have that secondary policy or endorsement or whatever it's called. They called it a difference in condition, which would cover the water. The master insurance agent said they suggested to the association, hey, listen, we recommend adding this onto the policy back when it renewed, but it was $50,000 to do it for the year. Well, if you break that up between all 240, or I can't remember how many units were in there, it was $17 extra a month on the association fee for each unit owner. It only used $17 to have adequate insurance.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. Well, I know the issue Sean had brought up with me was it was a Fannie Mae issue, is what he said. They were having an issue with Fannie Mae. He said they were able to resolve it, but I was still going to get that information to him because that's what it looked like to me. Hopefully that's what the associations are doing. They have to know they can't have an inadequate policy where people can't qualify for loans. And what are people going to do that, do they want to be in a place that's not covering the buildings for water damage? So, so that's another thing to consider.
Yeah. So for all agents on here, it's very important. So when you're getting a condo listing, I would say before you put it on the market, give us over at Van Dyke Mortgage, you can send us a copy of the master insurance policy and the budget, and we can take a look at that, and we can at least notify you of any red flags. It doesn't guarantee the project is going to get approved, but it certainly will help you out. And then if it's not going to be able to do a regular conventional loan, then that, and you can put it's only for cash and it's only for like a portfolio loan. So you don't need to waste time taking a conventional contract, and come to find out you can't get it done anyways. And then you have to put the house back on the market. So.
Right. And that's I've heard some realtors that have had some issues with, and you shouldn't, because it should be public record. That was actually another bill that was being considered, was to require all associations across the state to open up their records, basically to post their records online, their financials on their individual website, their financials, the meeting minutes, all those sorts of things. So that was actually proposed as well. But there have been some issues with some associations just not being quick to give that information up, but you should be
Or
able to
not
get
even
the
give it at
meetings from
all.
yeah, you should be able to get the meetings from the last year. You should be able to get the budget. You should be able to get what's in reserves. All those things should be available. I know there's a lawyer, I think it's with Berlin Patton, who has a form. Of course, it's got to be paid for by somebody because lawyers want money, right? So they're going to charge for it. But there's a form where you can legally request it if need be. You can legally request that information to make them give it up if there's any sorts of issues, if you do have any issues with that.
Yeah, because on our condo questionnaire, there's condition questions on there. And some of the associations, like say their attorney advised them not to allow their property manager to answer the condition questions on the lender's condo questionnaire. Or the association, the attorney was advised, their attorney advised them not to provide the meeting minutes. So we have some where like they're not providing them to the condo review department. We got to, contact the listing agent. They got to contact the seller. See, hopefully, maybe they know the president or of the association or somebody on the board of directors, and got to pull some strings because the meeting minutes that will show like, hey, they were calling for a roof replacement. They were calling for just things that they talked about. So if they don't answer the condition questions and questionnaire, the meeting minutes would help. Also, we have another one where we got the reserve study that they had done that basically is like a layout of like the condition of the property. So yeah, and these property managers, like I keep saying, maybe I'll just open a property management company that gives top-notch customer service, because a lot of these property managers are like helping things.
The one thing we've been telling realtors is this whole process, if you have someone like, if you're on the listing side and you're going to list a condo, and also buyers have to consider this too, buyers agents, this whole process, if you fall into a condo, if that's the 30 years or older and 3 stories or higher, you're going to have plenty of time. It's probably going to take longer on the finance side, because there's more documentation you're going to have to get access to. So there's not going to be a lot of quick turnarounds on these things. So as a result of that, any sort of inspections that might be, needed, like getting the wind mitigation inspection from the association, getting that at the very, very beginning, getting insurance quotes at the very, very beginning of the process, so that you don't have anything holding the process up, because there are already things related to milestone reports and minutes and everything, documentation you have to get that's going to slow the process down already. So just telling realtors the whole finance side could take a little bit longer on this because of the other factors that are involved because of the reforms.
That's great. That's great advice. Yes. Anything that they can collect up front, like with the budget, master insurance policy, like you were saying, call you guys to get a homeowner insurance quote, have the association get the wind mitigation. But some of these property managers, they are taking like weeks sometimes to get us back the required documents that we need. Sometimes they're all automated, like in the HomeWise portal, if they are using them sometimes, but not always. Some of the associations make us mail them a check, snail mail, for them to provide us any of the documents. Like some of them allow you to make the payment over the phone, but some of them will legit make you mail a check, and they won't give us anything till they get that. And we may not find that out that they require a check for a week, if they don't call us back. So yeah, having a good point of contact with that property manager is huge. Email address, phone number, maybe even having a backup person. Great advice.
That's true.
And I feel like it's going to get worse before it gets better, in ways like, because when these building inspections are coming, I just feel it's going to be a little bit challenging for the condo market, especially in Florida.
And I was just going to add, you're exactly right. It is going to be challenging. And I think there's some telltale signs that you already have some associations that have already got their milestone reports done. You've got associations that are taking the initiative to go ahead and have a pre-milestone inspection done. They're paying for someone to come in and basically do a milestone report, but it's not the official milestone report. A lot of the ones, especially as we get, as these months go by and we get into hurricane season and afterwards, if you've got associations that haven't even scheduled them, you really have to wonder why they're not doing, they should be scheduling them right now. And if they're not, and you get into July, August, September, and they still haven't scheduled it, there's an issue, right? And whether they're trying to hide something, who knows, but there's some sort of issue. They should be taking the initiative. And if you've got or if you've got associations that and they're getting those pre-milestone inspections done, those are the ones you want to be dealing with, because they're taking the initiative to try to make sure that they're taking care of their buyers and sellers.
So the pre-inspection that they're getting done, they're doing that so they can correct the issues before the actual milestone inspection is done?
Yes, in many cases, that's exactly what they're doing. They don't want to wait for the milestone report, because you could schedule it, and what happens, I mean, it could be months out before you're even getting it done, right? It's not like you schedule it and someone's out the next week. So you could be months down the road on that schedule for that particular inspection company, but they're just taking the initiative now to know what the issues are up front. And then some of them are taking the initiative to go ahead and get the repairs done, so that they don't end up, having a last minute sort of thing going on. I just think those are associations that are on the ball, and they don't have anything to hide. They've got money in reserves. They're just taking the initiative, and those are the associations you want to be hopefully listing condos in.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I've seen some of the buyers' condo fees on their existing homes going from $300 a month to $600 a month from one year to the next. Yeah,
it is going to be challenging for sure. Yeah, realtors, just let me know if y'all have any questions, or if you need any quotes. Just let me know.
Yep.
We'd be glad to help. We've got a team of people ready to help you.
They're a wealth of knowledge, almost too much knowledge.
We try. I'm trying to keep up with everything as best I can. There's changes every time, especially when you have almost 50 home insurance companies and they all do something different. You're just trying all the time just to keep up with all the changes.
Yeah, for sure. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah, reach out to us. Anything we can help out with, gang. Again, Florida Best Quotes on the first Friday of every month. We'll have an appraiser on the last Friday of every month, and then we'll have we're trying to have special speakers in between that. So we'll see you all next Friday at 9 a.m. Have a great week. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care.